Okay, we are at step 4, ideation. Now, traditionally, people sort of jump in there when they want to solve a problem or create an idea because they think that's how you do brainstorming. But through design thinking, we understand it's very important to understand, why do you want to, do this, empathize. Then, you need to define it. What exactly do you want? You want to do your research, and now you want to ideate. You have lots of data. You know what you want to get out of the process. But there is 3 steps to the things, or 3 things I want to highlight. One is the rules. You say, Reinhard, are you crazy? This is creativity. What do you mean by rules? Well, there are rules to creativity too. The first rule is no negativity. That means all ideas are welcome. No ideas are ridiculous. Now you'll say to me, Reinhard, but some ideas simply won't work. That's true. We'll get to it. But initially, you don't want people to tell other people, nah, that would never work, because it actually just closes them down. You want people to encourage bringing ideas to the table. It's very important. Then, one of the other rules, the more ideas, the better. So, what is the process? So what you start doing is you just actually start calling ideas, just like a normal brainstorming. So what happens is people in a normal brainstorming situation, because if they've worked with a problem for a while, they have had lots of ideas along. So the first ideas, say the first 4 or 5 ideas, are probably ideas that people have thought of. Some of them could be really good. But because people have thought of them, they probably disregarded them as well. Could be, could not be, but in my experience, it happens. Because people in the department have spoken around it already, and you got some feedback. And so what you want to do, other than the normal brainstorming, is something I would like to call brainstorming on steroids. Brainstorming times 10. And the purpose of that is to make the brain shift its normal neural path, the normal sort of synapses, ways of thinking about a problem. Now, that's easier said than done, because we think like we always used to. We are creatures of a habit. So how do you do this? Well, you got to break the normal way of thinking. And the clever people, they have used and gave us a couple of cool tools. There's a group called What If, and they brought a book. It's something I really like doing because they break it down into 4 simple sections. And it's actually getting people to go out of the normal way of thinking. There's other people also doing things like, De Bono, we know about him, talked about different ways, different tools. There's lots of people who created things. There's something called Scamper. Anything where you get like, what if have something like, let's say you are in education, you want to design a fancy online school book. You would ask maybe, forget the innovation field, what do people do that are in, let's say, space, NASA, these sort of people, European Space Agency, how do they go about educating, new pilots? It's just like very little to do with school education, but by asking that question, you would get new ideas. Now, they don't have the answer because they don't work with school kids, but you use that sort of crazy idea to formulate a new way of thinking for you, and it brings then other ideas forward. Other people have done stuff like using Lego, drawing pictures, mind maps. There's some other crazy things you can do. I've got this lovely thing, it's called, remember the ink blot test? Stuff like this. You think, no, Reinhard, what the heck has that to do with anything about creativity? Well, if you put these things around the table and give, say, people 1 or 2 cards or groups, and you say to them, you look at this card, and the question is, what do you see in this card that can really help us solve the idea of, No, load shedding. Let's say in South Africa we have energy crisis, and you go, Reinhard, really? Load shedding? But when people start talking, they go, load shedding? Okay, well that's sort of a rusty red thing. It makes me think of old things. Maybe we can and that's now you start breaking out of the things and new ideas, and the other person says, oh, now that you talk about this, it reminds me of this. Now you get fresh ideas, and that's really what you want. Now, Reinhard, you say, come Reinhard, you need to get back, but now you have not the normal 4 ideas of brainstorming, now you have 30. But not all 30 is valuable. I would say, yes, you're right. Not all 30 would be valuable. So what do? We have another cool tool. We call it a funnel. A funnel is a thing that looks like this. We chuck the ideas in the top. All 30, maybe you can put them in like 5 at a time or whatever. The yellow lines are what clever people call stage gates. So let's say we have, how do we want to create more power in our power grid in South Africa? The groups that work, that have created like maybe 30 really cool ideas of what they think is cool ideas. We take 6 or 7 at a time, we put them in. The stage gates are different things. Now, the finance guys would not put, budget right at the top and say, well, this idea, do we have the budget, chuck it out. Traditionally, I want to encourage people to put budget a little bit lower because things do cost money and you have a budget. I found if people start and make it the top stage gate budget, too many things, go away. So I would put things like resources, knowledge, experience, maybe as the first one, relevancy to the current situation. So you pick 2 or 3 stage gates. Now the 6, 7 ideas coming in is going to trickle through, and maybe 1 or 2 would be really valuable because down here you do have finances, and so maybe there's 1 or 2 that's out of this lots of ideas that could be really viable. And then we would go to the next stage about prototyping. Now, so Rana, there was 30 ideas in all in the top. What happens to the ideas that we have, don't work? We chuck them away, right? No, we don't. We bank them. So let's take idea. Let's take South Africa. We have, solar power, whatever, wind power, wave. People come up with wave power and they think, wave power, super expensive. Maybe it's sort of a thing that stops us at this stage because it's expensive. But instead of throwing the idea away, we say, okay, well, great. At this stage, it would be too expensive. But we put it in the bank. Because when technology changes, we can take these ideas from the bank and say, we revisit them. We say, 2 years ago, that was very expensive to generate power like this. But now, because technology has changed, maybe this is now viable. So the innovation department keeps track of ideas that's generated, because as time passes, not just technology or money or whatever it is, but things change and some really cool ideas can become viable. Now, that step after ideation, now you prototype all those, not prototype, you went in through the funnel, you have a couple, 2 or 3, now the next step we're going to talk about is prototyping. But that's for tomorrow. Now, I know it's a long video for today, and the people who are used to 60 seconds, I really apologize. But this video is for the people who are really serious about innovation. Cool. If you want me to help you in your company doing all these things, because it's great to have a facilitator doing it, and you think, Reinhard, really, you're just trying to sell yourself. Well, the beautiful thing of a facilitator is the facilitator is neutral. There is no, say, company politics involved. And the facilitator understands, the innovation facilitator understands the process of remaining neutral and allowing everybody's input equally. And create a scenario, because the facilitator can see, that person in the corner is quite shy, but they have a great idea. So facilitator pulls all those things in together. Happy ideation.